Hi, welcome to today's video. Today I have a very special guest speaker, Laura Applewhite, a woman that has dedicated herself into helping other women that have undergone or women that will undergo hysterectomies. Hi Laura, welcome to today's video.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here.
It's so good that you accepted my invitation because, as you know, I work a lot with people with burnout and I like to go down their timeline. And I've actually noticed that some of my patients, women, have actually had hysterectomies, and when confronted, they actually realize that the procedure has had a very, very strong effect in their lives. So it's really good to have you here today. And can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yes, so I'm a coach and I specialise in helping women to heal after they have had a hysterectomy. And often I feel what can happen is that because it's such a significant event in someone's life, there can really be a misunderstanding between like, oh, it's just a medical procedure, and things that I've heard sometimes before, like, oh, I've had a cesarean and I just completely bounced back after 6 weeks. And there's a way of thinking that you can have a hysterectomy and you can just bounce back to health within 6 to 8 weeks after it. And sometimes that does happen. Sometimes women can bounce back. I have had it known. And often what can happen is when women get to about kind of 6 to 8 weeks post-op, when they're not bouncing back to health, they start to feel that there's something wrong with them, and they start to question. What they can do is start to question everything about their entire lives, and it can be quite difficult then to pull all the threads back together and get back on track. So that's a really brief overview of kind of what we're doing.
Right, that's great. And what kind of woman actually seek you?
Yeah, so a woman who usually suits me is a woman who, before her hysterectomy, she may have been, despite being potentially quite unwell with various aspects of her health, she was also really successful and managing and juggling lots of other things at the same time, perhaps running a successful business, perhaps in a high pressure career. And just it's really difficult for that woman to understand, why didn't I bounce back after this operation? Why is it not easy for me to just take my 6 to 8 weeks off work and then just get straight back on with life? So women that come to me, they are potentially used to quite a lot of pressure in their lives before, and all of a sudden after this operation they just can't handle it anymore, and it's difficult for them to understand why. So that's the type of woman really who comes to see me.
Do you usually see women that have already had the operation, or do you see women also that will have the operation?
Yeah. Oh, I'm really glad you asked that question actually, because usually I see women who are post surgery. So, like I say, around maybe the 6 to 8 week mark. Sometimes I'll have a few questions maybe in the first few weeks of recovery, but it's usually when it's getting to crisis point later on after the surgery that I'll see a woman. But I would absolutely dearly love it if I was to see someone before their operation. I just feel that that would really help them, and it would help me as well, because we could get ahead of the problem and do a bit of prehab and a bit of pre-planning and management before the operation. I would dearly, dearly love that if I could see someone before. And at the same time, I do understand that it's a difficult thing to do that at that point, because most women are like how I was, and they're like, oh, I just think I don't want to look at this huge event. I'm just going to do everything that I need to do as normal before the surgery and get all my ducks in a row and get all the house things sorted out, all the things at work sorted out, all the kids sorted out, everything sorted out, and I'll just deal with everything else afterwards. So that does happen, and who am I to criticize that, because that's exactly what I did as well.
What do you feel that they actually need? What are the greatest needs when they come to see you, or their feelings when they contact you?
Yeah, so I have quite a few notes on this, because I was sitting down and thinking about the whole woman, and what a whole, because we are whole human beings at the end of the day. We talked about this at length. What does the whole woman need when she first comes to me? Whether it is, if in time, like I say, if in time I see someone before her operation, that would be great, or some way down the road. But so there's a few things that I've written down here, and often the biggest thing that is a struggle for a woman, especially the type of woman that comes to see me, is that the rest and recover part of the surgery is quite difficult. It can actually even be quite triggering, because you have someone who is, as I said before, potentially really used to dealing with lots of different things, lots of tasks, lots of pressure, lots of work, lots of life, right? And then all of a sudden this woman has to rest. And well, what does rest look like when you haven't ever really done that before? What does rest look like when you haven't asked other people to support you before? And what does rest look like when you have many other people relying on you in your life, and it's your job to be the one who's there for everyone else? So that can be quite a difficult thing for someone, and that's usually quite a big thing for someone when they're first coming to me. And again, I found that myself when I was healing too. And I always remember back, and I've spoken about it so many times now, when I just had my surgery and I hopped off the bed and I was like, this is fine. This is easy. I can just, and then I collapsed because I did not put the connection in my brain together, like that I have just had major surgery. And like I said before, if you have people who like, I just had a cesarean and I was just like snapped back into it, it's not the same when you've had a major organ removed, and there's a whole lot of other things that come to that. So that's one major thing. Another huge thing that I see happening a lot is that many women are grieving for the loss of, maybe it's their fertility. And even if they didn't think that they wanted to have any more children, that was standard for me. I didn't want to have any more children, but as soon as the choice was taken away from me, and this is what comes up a lot, as soon as the choice is taken away, it feels final, and that can bring up a lot of grief. It can be grief and fear surrounding the woman's health for the future. It can be grief around a woman's identity and the loss of youth, and fear of aging in the future, because in our culture, it's almost seen as a bit of a negative thing to grow old, even though it really isn't, and it's actually an honor and a privilege to grow older. But young women and faces that aren't wrinkled and bodies that are svelte and slim and bursting with vitality, they're celebrated over aging bodies. So it can cause a lot of grief and fear as well. So there's a lot of things around that as well.
It's not always easy to accept.
No, and it's a continual process, isn't it? Because it's like, oh well, maybe 50 is the new 40, or 30 is the new 20, or but when you get to 50, oh, what about when you get to 60? Or when am I going on the scrap heap? that kind of that kind of
Oh.
worry, and so those are two of the big ones anyway. Yeah.
Okay. How do they actually get in touch with you, Laura?
Yeah, so I have a Facebook group, so they can get in touch with me on there. It's a private Facebook group, so really confidential and really sensitive to women who want to keep things private. And that's Hysterectomy Healing with Laura Applewhite. I'm also on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram. And I will send you all the links to all of the different ways to contact me as well. And if a woman is wanting to know more information as well, I do have a hysterectomy guide, so I can send you the link so that people can register for that if they would like to.
Okay, great. So do you actually help women online also?
Yeah, it's mostly online, mostly in the UK at the moment and America. And yeah, so that helps because we can do all of these amazing things via the internet now, like we are now.
Yeah, I know it's great. It's really a great possibility, really, and you can reach so many people, so many more people with our way of help. How many times do they actually need to see you or to speak to you, or how does your help? What does it entail? How do you actually help them?
Yeah, so I have a range of different programs. The main way that people work with me is they start off with a 3-month program, and so we will see each other every week, and women have access to me all the time via WhatsApp or whatever app of their choice, like Telegram or Messenger or whatever. But beyond the weekly sessions as well, I also do really intensive deep dives with women so that we can just go through absolutely everything that they want to look at. And really, my coaching program is all around helping the woman to nurture herself as well as she does others, because I really feel that women are so good at nurturing and loving everyone else. And if we could just turn just even that much of it on us and on ourselves sometimes, then that can be really helpful for healing. But my programs are 3, 6 and 12 months long, so it really depends on what a woman wants.
Okay, great. Have you had the chance to really see how much it can also help those women psychologically?
Yeah, I think sometimes the psychological aspect is sometimes the biggest part of it, really, because we have our physical health, and if everything was going fine with recovery from surgery, then 6 to 8 weeks after your operation, maybe you could get back to work and everything would be fine. But the emotional side of things can often just really slow everything down. And so, what a woman feels about herself, how listened to and heard and understood and held and seen by a woman's family, by her community, by everyone in who she interacts with, and how she can put that on herself as well. How she can speak what is true for her and really value her own needs as well. All of those things, they can really affect you psychologically if you're not able to do those things, or if you're not feeling heard and seen by other people around you as well. So I think, for example, if we have someone who has had the surgery and she is feeling really anxious and she's feeling really depressed, what's she going to do? Often she will hide herself away from everyone, and sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, but often slowly, start withdrawing from everyone, and that just affects everything. It affects everything for a woman, and she slowly sometimes can start erasing herself from people's lives and her community and her work and everything, and that really does affect her psychologically, and I'm sure you've seen and experienced that as well.
And it's great that that women actually have that type of help, because we as medical doctors don't have, unfortunately, so many times the time we would like to have to be with those women. So it's really good and really really great to think that we all can work. We all can work to support a human being, which and we won't be working just to support that human being. We will be working into supporting all those that are around that human being. So it's really crucial. And Laura, when do you actually feel that you've succeeded in helping a woman?
When I feel that I've succeeded in helping a woman is when this woman starts to get her spark back, and when she starts to say, oh, my friends and family have noticed that I've got the colour back in my cheeks, so I've got the sparkle back in my eyes. And when a woman is starting to feel more empowered, and so for example, she's got her voice back and she's able to say to people, I disagree with you on this, or that's a really good idea that you've said that, but this is what I think. And really, this is what I'm talking about, empowerment. I'm not just talking about, a woman like just saying the word, I feel empowered. It's actually embodying that empowerment and being like, I am the person who is in charge of my life, and I know how I want to get from here to here. A woman, how I know I've succeeded is when a woman starts to dream again and have plans and desires, and gives herself permission to plan and dream for the future. And when a woman also can really love and respect herself fully again, and maybe she even wants to start thinking, I'm happy to put the hysterectomy and all the menopausal symptoms and all the negative side of things, I've dealt with them and I'm able to put them behind me, and they're in the past now, and I'm ready to look forward. And so all of those things, that's when I know I've succeeded. And if it's okay, can I just go back to what you were saying as well before about doctors and the medical profession, because I thought that was really, really important what you said, actually, because, and we've talked about it before, is that sometimes women come to me and they say that they don't feel that they have received enough support, and they don't feel that they have received enough information from their medical professionals and the medical teams. And as you said, sometimes doctors don't have they don't have enough time with a woman, and they don't have enough time to support her as the whole person. So you know this, and I know this, and I think it's important that we do talk about this more as well, because many doctors are doing really, really great work, and they're responsible for a small piece often of a woman's health and healing and ongoing well-being, and the information that has been provided is such that it's put into a neat little box, and it's checked off, and there's lots of red tape surrounding it, and they have a very prescriptive amount of information that they can provide, and a limited amount of time in which they can share that with the woman. So often it's completely appropriate for the woman to be supported a lot outside of a medical setting, and that's why I wanted to come back to it, because I do think that doctors are very, very constrained in what they can do and how they can support, and that's why it, like I said just a minute ago, really it's being aware of what doctors are able to do, and then what needs to be outside of that as well.
Right, and I would say it's appropriate and it's important that those women get all the help they can get. It's really great. So I'm so happy that you really you've dedicated yourself to this. It's just very great, and you're not helping the woman now. You're helping those women now, and you're helping those women's future also. But can you just, before we finish, can you give me an example of one woman that has had your help?
Yeah, so the one woman that stands out in my mind the most is a woman who, when she first started working with me, she was always in the dark in her bedroom when I would start the sessions with her. Not actually too dissimilar from how you're sitting now, but it wasn't in a studio. She was always in the dark, and she was in such a lot of emotional pain, and she could hardly speak at the beginning. And sometimes I used to wonder, is she there? And I would just talk really with her, and really gently, really gently talk with her about what was going on. And she was so scared about her future. And what had happened there was that there was a lot of events going on in the lead up to her surgery, lots of family problems, and lots of things going on in the lead up to her surgery. And also, when she was consented for the procedure, she was rushed through that process. And she was really worried about the decision that she made to have her ovaries removed, and whether that had ruined her health for the future. And she would spend hours, she told me, Googling on the internet and her brain was looking for evidence to agree with her, really, that she'd ruined all of her health for the future. And she was really depressed and really anxious when she first started working with me. But after 3 months of working with me, she had completely turned around.
That's great.
And she was back at work. She had made peace with her doctor, and she had made peace with what happened in the consenting process as well. She was back in love with her husband. She said they were like teenagers again, which would just it still fills me with lots of joy now. And she was planning a huge trip with her family in the next year, because one of the things that would really keep her going when we first started was her children. Her children were such a joy to her, and she wanted to return to being the vivacious and joyful mum that she had been before. And it really just filled my heart with joy. And also, what I really like to say as well is, even though I helped her with that, she did the work as well. So when I'm working with someone, I facilitate some changes, but a woman will walk alongside me, or rather, I will walk alongside her, shoulder to shoulder. So it's not me that's doing all of that. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. It's a voyage.
Yes, a joint voyage, shoulder to shoulder voyage. Yeah.
Right. And that's how it should be.
Right.
Also
Yeah.
in the medical practice.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Laura, thank you so much. We have to unfortunately end the session now, but it's been great having you here, and I'm sure it will not be the last time. So, really great. Thank you so much for your time. And I really hope you carry on helping so many women. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to leave all the links and the contact links to Laura on the description below. We see each other in the next video.